The phone rang at 2:47 a.m., cutting through the quiet hum of the vacuum cleaner like a knife through silence. Juliana Washington looked at the unknown international number flashing on her screen and almost let it go to voicemail. She was 3 hours into her night shift as a reserve cleaner at Morrison Tech, and the last thing she needed was some telemarketer calling from halfway around the world. But something made her answer. "Hello," she said, switching off the vacuum with her foot. "Please, please, you must help." The voice was female, heavily accented, and filled with panic. "My boss, he is in terrible danger. The deal, it is falling apart. Everything will be lost." Juliana frowned, adjusting her cleaning cart. "I think you have the wrong number. I'm just—" No, you do not understand." The woman's voice cracked with desperation. "I have been calling for hours. No one answers. The big boss, Mr. Morrison, he is not picking up his phone. The meeting, it starts in 4 hours in Tokyo, and if he does not fix this, everything will be destroyed. Morrison." Juliana's eyes widened as she looked around the gleaming corporate lobby of Morrison Tech. She was standing in the very building this woman was talking about. The same building where she'd been working night shifts for the past 6 months, invisible to the executives who rushed past her during the day. "Wait," Juliana said slowly. "Are you talking about Nathan Morrison? The CEO?" Yes. You know him?" The woman's voice lifted with hope. "I am Lynn, his assistant in Tokyo office. I have been trying to reach him all night. There is crisis with the Yamamoto deal. Very bad crisis. If it is not fixed by morning Tokyo time, we lose everything. $100 million, maybe more." Juliana's heart started racing. She'd read about Nathan Morrison in the business magazines left scattered in the break room. Young, brilliant, and worth more money than she could imagine. But she'd never seen him in person during her night shifts. The executive floors were always empty by the time she arrived. "I'm sorry, but I can't help you," Juliana said. "I'm just a cleaner. I don't know anything about business deals or—" "Please?" Lynn's voice was desperate now. "You are there, in the building, yes? You can find him? His phone is off, security will not let me through. You are my only hope." Juliana looked at her watch. It was almost 3 a.m. The building was supposed to be empty except for security and the cleaning crew. But what if Nathan Morrison was still here? What if he was in trouble? "I don't know," Juliana said, uncertainty creeping into her voice. "Even if I could find him, what makes you think he'd listen to me? I'm nobody to him." "Right now, you are everybody to him," Lynn said urgently. "You are the only person who can save his company. Please, I am begging you. Just try to find him. Tell him Lynn called about Yamamoto deal. Tell him the contract translation was wrong. Tell him they think he is being disrespectful." The line went quiet except for Lynn's ragged breathing. Juliana could hear the desperation, the fear, the hope hanging in the silence between them. She thought about her own dreams, her own struggles, the way she'd always wished someone would take a chance on her. "Okay," she heard herself saying. "I'll try to find him." "Thank you." Lynn's voice broke with relief. "Thank you so much. I will wait by my phone. Please hurry." The line went dead, leaving Juliana standing alone in the corporate lobby with her cleaning cart and a mission that seemed impossible. She looked up at the gleaming elevator buttons, each one leading to floors she'd cleaned but never truly belonged to. The executive suites were on the top 3 floors, levels 18 through 20. She'd never been up there while the building was occupied. But tonight everything was different. Juliana pushed her cart toward the elevator, her mind racing. What was she doing? She was a part-time cleaner who could barely make ends meet, and she was about to interrupt a billionaire CEO to deliver a message she didn't even fully understand. But something about Lynn's desperation had touched her. The way the woman had said, "Everything will be lost," reminded Juliana of her own fears about losing her small apartment, her dreams of someday starting her own business. The elevator dinged softly as it reached the 18th floor. The doors opened to reveal a world she'd only seen empty and quiet. Now, even at 3 a.m., there were lights on in several offices. The soft glow of computer screens illuminated the hallway, and she could hear the faint sound of someone typing. Juliana's heart hammered as she pushed her cart down the hallway. She'd never felt more out of place in her life. Her uniform was clean but worn, her sneakers squeaked softly against the polished marble floors, and she was acutely aware of how different she looked from the suited executives who normally walked these halls. She passed office after office, looking for any sign of Nathan Morrison. Most were dark, but a few showed signs of recent occupation. Coffee cups sat on desks, jackets hung over chairs, and papers were scattered across conference tables. It looked like people had been working late into the night. Then she heard it. A low groan coming from an office at the end of the hall. The nameplate on the door read, Nathan Morrison, Chief Executive Officer. Juliana hesitated, her hand hovering over the door handle. What if he was sick? What if he thought she was an intruder? What if she was about to make the biggest mistake of her life? But then she remembered Lynn's voice, the desperation and fear, and she knocked gently on the door. Mr. Morrison, she called softly. Are you okay? The groaning stopped. After a moment, a muffled voice called out, Who's there? My name is Juliana. I'm with the cleaning crew. I just got a call from someone named Lynn in Tokyo. She said it was urgent. There was a long pause, then the sound of shuffling papers and a chair creaking. Lynn? Are you sure? Yes, sir. She said something about a Yamamoto deal and a contract translation being wrong. She seemed really scared. The door opened suddenly, and Juliana found herself face to face with Nathan Morrison for the first time. He looked nothing like the confident executive she'd seen in magazine photos. His expensive shirt was wrinkled and partially unbuttoned, his dark hair was disheveled, and his eyes were red with exhaustion. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. You talked to Lynn? He asked, his voice hoarse. When? How? Just now. She called my phone by mistake, I think. She was trying to reach you and couldn't get through. She said you were in danger and that everything would be lost if the deal fell apart. Nathan ran his hands through his hair, leaving it even messier than before. God, I fell asleep at my desk. I've been working on this deal for 3 days straight. My phone must have died. It looked at Juliana with a mixture of confusion and hope. You said she mentioned the contract translation? Yes, and something about being disrespectful. She sounded really upset. Nathan's face went pale. Oh no. Oh no. If they think we're being disrespectful. He turned and rushed back into his office, leaving the door open. Juliana could see him frantically searching through papers on his desk. She stood in the doorway, unsure whether to follow or leave. Her cleaning cart sat abandoned in the hallway, and she felt completely out of her element. But something about Nathan's panic reminded her of her own moments of crisis, the times when everything seemed to be falling apart at once. Is there anything I can do to help? She asked quietly. Nathan looked up from his papers, seeming to notice her for the first time. Really notice her. His eyes took in her cleaning uniform, her worried expression, the way she was standing hesitantly in his doorway like she was ready to run. I'm sorry, he said, his voice softer now. I don't even know your name. Juliana Washington. Juliana. He nodded slowly. I'm Nathan. And you might have just saved my company. Nathan Morrison stared at Juliana Washington as if she were an angel who had materialized in his office doorway. The fluorescent lights of the hallway created a soft glow behind her, and for a moment, he wondered if he was hallucinating from exhaustion. Your phone? He said suddenly, extending his hand. Can I call Lynn back? Juliana fumbled for her phone and handed it over. Nathan's fingers were shaking slightly as he dialed, and she couldn't help but notice how different he looked from the confident CEO she'd imagined. His expensive suit jacket was draped over his chair, his tie was loose around his neck, and there were dark circles under his eyes. The phone rang once before Lynn's voice answered in rapid Japanese, then switched to English. Hello? Juliana? Did you find him? Lynn, it's me, Nathan said, sinking into his chair. I'm so sorry. My phone died and I fell asleep at my desk. What's happening with Yamamoto? Even from where she stood, Juliana could hear Lynn's voice become more frantic. Mr. Morrison. Thank God. We have big problem. The contract you sent yesterday, Mr. Yamamoto's translator says it is very rude. They think you are being disrespectful to their company. Nathan's face went white. Disrespectful? Oh. I had our legal team review every word. That is the problem. Lynn interrupted. Legal team, they translated everything correctly, but they did not understand Japanese business culture. The way you addressed Mr. Yamamoto, the way you structured the proposal, it sounds like you think his company is small and unimportant. But that's not what I meant at all, Nathan said, running his free hand through his hair. Yamamoto Industries is one of the most respected companies in Asia. This deal is worth everything to us. I know, but Mr. Yamamoto, he is very traditional. He believes in honor and respect above all else. When he read your contract, he felt insulted. He is planning to cancel the meeting and work with your competitors instead. Nathan stood up so quickly his chair rolled backward and hit the wall. When is the meeting? 6 hours from now. 9 a.m. Tokyo time. That is 7 a.m. your time. Juliana looked at her watch. It was 3:15 a.m. Nathan had less than 4 hours to figure out how to save a deal he'd been working on for months. Lynn, what exactly did the translator say was wrong with the contract? Many things. The greeting was too casual. You used his first name instead of proper titles. You talked about your company's achievements before acknowledging his company's reputation. And the worst part, you structured the financial terms like you were doing him a favor instead of asking for a partnership. Nathan began pacing behind his desk, the phone pressed to his ear. Okay. I can fix this. I'll rewrite the entire contract. I'll have it to you in 2 hours. Mr. Morrison, Lynn's voice was gentle but firm. 2 hours will not be enough. You need to understand this is not just about contract language. Mr. Yamamoto feels that you do not respect him or his culture. He thinks you are another American businessman who sees Japan as just another market to conquer. But I don't feel that way at all, Nathan said, his voice breaking slightly. I've studied Japanese business practices for years. I've read every book, taken every course. Reading books is not the same as understanding hearts, Lynn said quietly. Mr. Yamamoto is not just a businessman. He is a man who values honor, tradition, and genuine respect. You need to show him that you see him as an equal, not as a customer. Nathan stopped pacing and looked at Juliana, who was still standing in the doorway. She had been listening to every word, and something in her expression made him pause. Lynn, he said slowly, give me until 6 a.m. I'll call you back with a new approach. Mr. Morrison, I hope you understand how serious this is. If we lose Yamamoto Industries, we lose their entire network of partner companies. That is not just $100 million. That could be $500 million over the next 5 years. The line went quiet, and Nathan handed the phone back to Juliana. She could see the weight of the situation settling on his shoulders like a heavy blanket. $500 million, he whispered, mostly to himself. $500 million because I didn't understand how to say hello properly. Juliana surprised herself by speaking up. Maybe the problem isn't that you don't understand. Maybe the problem is that you're trying too hard to understand. Nathan looked at her sharply. What do you mean? I mean, when someone feels like you're not respecting them, it's usually because you're not seeing them as a real person. You're seeing them as a problem to solve or a goal to achieve. Nathan started, then stopped. Actually, you might be right. I've been so focused on getting this deal done that I haven't thought about what Mr. Yamamoto actually wants from this partnership. What does he want? Nathan sat down heavily in his chair. I honestly don't know. I know what his company does, I know their financial situation, I know their market position. But I don't know what he personally wants to achieve. Juliana stepped further into the office, her cleaning cart forgotten in the hallway. Can I ask you something? Why is this deal so important to you? Because it's the biggest deal in our company's history. Because it will establish us as a major player in the Asian market. Because it will prove that I can run this company as well as my father did. Your father? Nathan's expression softened. He started this company 30 years ago. Built it from nothing. When he passed away 2 years ago, everyone wondered if I could fill his shoes. This deal with Yamamoto would prove that I can. So this isn't just about money for you either. No, Nathan said quietly. It's about honor. It's about proving myself worthy of my father's legacy. Juliana nodded slowly. Maybe that's what you need to tell Mr. Yamamoto. Maybe instead of trying to impress him with your business knowledge, you need to be honest about why this matters to you. Nathan stared at her for a long moment. You know, for someone who works as a cleaner, you have remarkable insight into business relationships. I work as a cleaner, Juliana said with a slight smile, but I'm also a person who's had to earn respect in a world that doesn't always give it freely. I know what it feels like when someone sees your job instead of seeing you. Is that how you see me? As just another CEO? Juliana considered this. Honestly? 5 minutes ago, yes. But now I see someone who's scared of disappointing people he loves, even if they're not here anymore. That's something I understand. Nathan's phone rang again and he looked at Juliana before answering. It's Lynn. Mr. Morrison, Lynn's voice was urgent. I have been thinking. Maybe there is a way to fix this, but it will require you to do something very difficult. What? You need to call Mr. Yamamoto personally. Not a video conference, not an email. A personal phone call. You need to apologize for the misunderstanding and ask for the chance to start over. Apologize? But I didn't mean to be disrespectful. That does not matter. In Japanese culture, the intention matters less than the result. If he felt disrespected, then you were disrespectful, even if you did not mean to be. You must take responsibility and ask for forgiveness. Nathan looked at Juliana, who nodded encouragingly. Okay, he said. I'll do it. But Lynn, I need you to help me understand exactly what I should say. I will help you, but Mr. Morrison, you must speak from your heart, not from a script. Mr. Yamamoto will know if you are not being genuine. How do I do that? How do I be genuine to someone I've never met? You tell him the truth about why this partnership matters to you. You tell him about your father, about your hopes for the company, about what you hope to learn from working with him. You make it about building a relationship, not just closing a deal. Nathan looked at Juliana again. Are you willing to help me figure out what to say? Me? Juliana's eyes widened. I don't know anything about international business. No, but you know about people. And right now, that's what I need more than business knowledge. Juliana glanced at her cleaning cart, then back at Nathan. She thought about her own dreams, her own struggles, the way she'd always hoped someone would give her a chance to prove herself. Okay, she said. I'll help you. Nathan Morrison's office was a testament to controlled chaos. Documents were scattered across his massive mahogany desk. 3 computer monitors displayed different spreadsheets and presentations, and empty coffee cups created a small fortress around his keyboard. The wall behind him was covered with awards, photos with world leaders, and a large portrait of an older man who looked remarkably like Nathan but with silver hair and kind eyes. That's your father? Juliana asked, nodding toward the portrait. Yeah, Nathan said, following her gaze. Robert Morrison. He built this company from a single office in downtown Detroit. Started with just him and a secretary, working 16-hour days to land their first client. What would he think about this situation? Nathan was quiet for a moment, then let out a bitter laugh. He'd probably tell me I was overthinking it. Dad was always better with people than I am. He could walk into a room and make everyone feel like they were the most important person there. And you can't. I can give presentations to boards of directors, I can negotiate contracts, I can analyze market trends. But making genuine connections with people? Nathan shook his head. I've always struggled with that. Juliana looked around the office, taking in the expensive furniture, the view of the city skyline, the obvious signs of success. Can I ask you something personal? After what you've done for me tonight, you can ask me anything. Are you lonely? The question hung in the air like smoke. Nathan opened his mouth as if to give an automatic denial, then closed it again. His shoulders sagged slightly. Yes, he said quietly. I am. I have employees who respect me, business partners who want to work with me, and social contacts who invite me to parties. But I don't have many real friends. And I definitely don't have anyone who calls me just to see how I'm doing. What about family? My parents are gone. I have a sister in California, but we only talk on holidays. She thinks I work too much and she's probably right. Nathan looked at Juliana with curiosity. What about you? Are you married? Kids? No and no, Juliana said with a smile. I'm too busy working 3 jobs to have time for a relationship. I clean offices at night, work at a daycare during the day, and help my neighbor with her catering business on weekends. 3 jobs? That's incredible. Why so many? Because I'm saving up to start my own business someday. I want to open a community center in my neighborhood, somewhere kids can go after school to do homework and learn new skills. But that takes money and money takes time. Nathan studied her face, seeing something he rarely encountered in his world of corporate ambition. You're working towards something bigger than yourself. Isn't that what you're doing too? Building your father's legacy? I suppose so. But sometimes I wonder if I'm doing it for the right reasons. Am I honoring his memory, or am I just trying to prove I'm worthy of the Morrison name? Before Juliana could answer, her phone rang. Lynn's number appeared on the screen. It's Lynn again, Juliana said, handing Nathan the phone. Mr. Morrison, Lynn's voice was tense. I have been researching more about Mr. Yamamoto. I found something important. What is it? His father also started their company from nothing. Yamamoto Industries began as a small family business in Osaka 60 years ago. Mr. Yamamoto took over when his father died, just like you did. Nathan's eyes widened. So he understands what I'm going through. Yes, but there is more. 3 years ago, an American company tried to buy Yamamoto Industries. They offered a lot of money, but Mr. Yamamoto refused because he felt they did not respect his father's legacy. He said they saw his company as just another acquisition, not as a family's life work. And now he thinks I'm doing the same thing. Exactly. But Mr. Morrison, this could also be your opportunity. If you can show him that you understand what it means to carry on a father's legacy, if you can connect with him on that level, he might be willing to listen. Nathan looked at Juliana, who had been following the conversation intently. Lynn, what's the best way to approach this? You need to call him before the meeting. Apologize for the misunderstanding and ask if you can start over. But most importantly, you need to be vulnerable. Tell him about your father, about your struggles, about what this partnership would mean to you personally. Vulnerable? Nathan's voice cracked slightly. I don't know if I can do that with someone I've never met. Mr. Morrison, Lynn said gently, in Japanese culture, showing vulnerability is not weakness. It is honesty. It is the foundation of trust. After Lynn hung up, Nathan sat in silence for several minutes. Juliana watched him wrestle with something internal, his hands clasped tightly in front of him. I've never told anyone about my father's death, he said finally. I mean, people know he died, but I've never talked about how it affected me. How scared I was to take over the company. How every day I wonder if I'm making decisions he would approve of. Why haven't you talked about it? Because CEOs aren't supposed to be scared. We're supposed to be confident, decisive, strong. If I admit that I'm sometimes overwhelmed, that I miss my father's guidance, that I'm not sure I'm doing the right thing, what does that say about my ability to lead? It says you're human, Juliana said simply. And maybe that's what Mr. Yamamoto needs to hear. Nathan picked up his desk phone and stared at it. It's 4 a.m. here, which means it's 6 p.m. in Tokyo. He's probably at home with his family. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. I've never called a business partner at home before. Maybe that's the point. Maybe he needs to see that you're willing to step outside your comfort zone for this relationship. Nathan dialed the international number Lynn had given him. The phone rang several times before a formal voice answered in Japanese. Hello, this is Nathan Morrison from Morrison Tech in the United States. I'm calling to speak with Mr. Yamamoto if he's available. There was a pause, then the voice switched to accented English. Mr. Morrison, this is Yamamoto. I am surprised to hear from you at this hour. Mr. Yamamoto, I'm calling to apologize. I understand that the contract we sent was disrespectful to you and your company. That was never my intention, but I realize that my intentions don't matter as much as the impact of my words. Another pause. You are calling to apologize? Yes, sir. I'm calling to ask if you would be willing to give me another chance. Not just to present a better contract, but to start over completely. To build a relationship based on mutual respect and understanding. This is unusual, Mr. Morrison. In my experience, American businessmen do not apologize. They make excuses or they blame others. Nathan looked at Juliana, who nodded encouragingly. Mr. Yamamoto, I'm not calling as just another American businessman. I'm calling as a son who inherited his father's company and is trying to honor his legacy. I understand that you went through the same experience when you took over Yamamoto Industries. The silence on the other end of the line stretched longer this time. When Mr. Yamamoto spoke again, his voice was softer. You know about my father? I know that he started your company 60 years ago, and that you've spent your life building on what he created. I know that 3 years ago, you turned down a very lucrative offer from an American company because you felt they didn't respect your father's legacy. That is correct. Mr. Yamamoto, I'm calling to tell you that I would never want to be that kind of American company. This partnership isn't just about money for me. It's about proving that I can carry on my father's work with the same integrity and respect that he showed throughout his life. Tell me about your father, Mr. Morrison. Nathan's voice became softer, more personal. His name was Robert Morrison. He started this company 30 years ago with nothing but a dream and a willingness to work harder than anyone else. He taught me that business isn't just about profits, it's about relationships. It's about treating people with dignity and respect, regardless of their position or background. And yet your contract did not reflect these values. No, it didn't. And that's my fault. I was so focused on impressing you with our capabilities that I forgot to show you respect. I was so worried about closing the deal that I forgot about building the relationship. What would your father think of this situation? Nathan smiled sadly. He would probably tell me that I was overthinking it. Dad always said that the best business relationships start with honest conversation between two people who respect each other. And do you respect me, Mr. Morrison? I respect you tremendously, Mr. Yamamoto. I respect what you've built, I respect your commitment to your father's legacy, and I respect your decision to protect your company's values, even when it costs you money. And what do you hope to gain from this partnership? I hope to learn from you. I hope to build something that would make both of our fathers proud. And I hope to prove that American and Japanese companies can work together as equals, not as competitors. The line was quiet again, but this time the silence felt different. Less tense, more thoughtful. Mr. Morrison, Mr. Yamamoto said finally, I will agree to meet with you tomorrow. But I have conditions. Name them. First, we throw away the old contract completely. We start fresh. Agreed. Second, this meeting will not be about you trying to sell me on your company. It will be about us getting to know each other as people. Agreed. And third, you will bring the person who helped you make this phone call. I would like to meet them. Nathan looked at Juliana in surprise. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Mr. Morrison, I have been in business for 30 years. I know the difference between prepared remarks and genuine emotion. Tonight you spoke from your heart. But I do not think those words came from you alone. Someone helped you find that honesty. How did you know? Because the man who sent me that disrespectful contract could not have made the phone call I just received. Someone helped you see what was missing. Nathan looked at Juliana, who was shaking her head frantically. Mr. Yamamoto, I don't think that's necessary. The person who helped me isn't a business professional. Mr. Morrison, sometimes the most valuable insights come from people who are not business professionals. I would like to meet this person. Sir, she's a cleaning lady. She works the night shift in our building. And she helped you understand something that your expensive consultants and lawyers could not? Nathan looked at Juliana again, seeing her in a new light. Yes, she did. Then I definitely want to meet her. What is her name? Juliana Washington. Ms. Washington will be welcome at our meeting. In fact, I insist on it. After Nathan hung up, he and Juliana stared at each other in silence. I can't go to that meeting, Juliana said finally. I don't know anything about international business. You know the most important thing, Nathan replied. You know how to see people as human beings instead of just obstacles to overcome. But I'm just a cleaner. No, Nathan said firmly. You're the person who saved my company. And tomorrow you're going to help me save it again. The Tokyo meeting was scheduled for 7 a.m. Eastern Time, which gave Nathan and Juliana exactly 3 hours to prepare. Nathan had already called his assistant to clear his morning schedule, and now they sat in his office surrounded by printouts of Yamamoto Industries' history, financial reports, and cultural guides to Japanese business practices. I can't believe I agreed to this, Juliana said, looking overwhelmed as she flipped through a guide to Japanese business etiquette. I've never been in a meeting with international executives. You've never been in a meeting with any executives? Nathan pointed out. But you managed to help me understand Mr. Yamamoto better in 30 minutes than my consulting team did in 3 months. That's different. I was just being myself. Exactly. That's what made the difference. Juliana set down the etiquette guide and looked at Nathan seriously. Can I ask you something? What happens if this doesn't work? What if Mr. Yamamoto decides he doesn't want to work with your company after all? Nathan was quiet for a moment, staring at the financial projections spread across his desk. Honestly, it would be devastating. Not just financially, though that would be bad enough. This deal represents everything I've been working towards since I took over the company. It's my chance to prove that I can build on my father's legacy instead of just maintaining it. And if you can't prove that, then I'll have to live with the knowledge that I let my father down. That I wasn't worthy of the trust he placed in me. Juliana studied Nathan's face, seeing the weight of expectation and self-doubt that he carried. Can I tell you something? I think you're putting too much pressure on yourself. What do you mean? I mean, your father didn't build this company so you could spend your life trying to prove you're worthy of it. He built it because he wanted to create something meaningful. And from what I can see, you've already done that. How can you say that? You barely know me. I know that you stayed up for 3 days straight working on this deal. I know that when a stranger called you in the middle of the night with bad news, you didn't get angry or defensive. You listened. I know that you're willing to humble yourself and apologize to someone you've never met because you realize you made a mistake. Nathan looked surprised. Those don't seem like particularly impressive qualities. They're exactly the kind of qualities your father would be proud of. You're not trying to conquer the world or prove how smart you are. You're trying to build relationships and do the right thing. That's what real leadership looks like. Before Nathan could respond, his phone rang. The caller ID showed his sister's name. Rachel? He answered surprised. It's 4 a.m. here. Is everything okay? I couldn't sleep. His sister's voice came through the speaker. I had this weird feeling that you needed to talk to someone. Are you okay? Nathan looked at Juliana, who gestured for him to take the call. Actually, I'm in the middle of a crisis. The biggest deal of my career is falling apart, and I'm trying to figure out how to save it. Oh, Nathan. I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about it? I don't want to burden you with my problems. You're not burdening me. You're my brother. Besides, maybe an outside perspective would help. Nathan found himself explaining the situation to Rachel, describing his mistakes with the contract and his conversation with Mr. Yamamoto. As he talked, he realized he was speaking more openly than he had in years. Nathan, Rachel said when he finished, can I tell you something? You sound different. Different how? Less guarded. More like the brother I grew up with. What changed? Nathan looked at Juliana, who was pretending to read the Japanese business guide while obviously listening to his conversation. I guess I realized that trying to be perfect all the time was actually making me worse at my job. You know what Dad would say if he could hear you right now? What? He'd say, it's about time. Nathan, you've been carrying this weight for 2 years trying to fill Dad's shoes exactly. But Dad never wanted you to be him. He wanted you to be you. After Nathan hung up with Rachel, he and Juliana sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Your sister sounds nice, Juliana said finally. She is. I should call her more often. Why don't you? Nathan shrugged. I guess I always feel like I should have my life figured out before I talk to family. Like I should only call with good news. That's silly. Family is for the bad news too. That's when you need them most. Is that how it works in your family? Juliana's expression became more guarded. I don't really have much family. My mom died when I was 16, and my dad wasn't around much even before that. I have an aunt in Chicago, but we don't talk much. I'm sorry. That must have been hard. It was. But it taught me to build my own family from the people who matter to me. My neighbor Mrs. Johnson, who hired me to help with her catering business. The kids at the daycare where I work. The other cleaners here who cover for me when I'm sick. That's why you want to start a community center. Exactly. I want to create a place where kids who don't have much family support can still feel like they belong somewhere. Nathan looked at Juliana with new understanding. You know what? I think Mr. Yamamoto is going to like you. Why? Because you understand what it means to build something from nothing. You understand what it means to take care of people. Lynn called again at 5:30 a.m. with final preparations for the meeting. Mr. Morrison, I have been thinking about how to structure this conversation. I think it would be best if you and Ms. Washington were both on the video call, but you should let her speak first. Me? Juliana's voice squeaked. I can't speak first. I don't know what to say. Ms. Washington, Lynn said gently, Mr. Yamamoto is curious about you. He wants to understand how you were able to help Mr. Morrison see what he was missing. Just be honest about your perspective. But I'm not a business expert. That is exactly why your perspective is valuable. Mr. Yamamoto has been dealing with business experts his whole career. You offer something different. After Lynn hung up, Nathan and Juliana spent the next hour preparing for the call. Nathan showed her how to use the video conferencing system, and they practiced introductions and basic conversation topics. Remember, Nathan said as they prepared to dial into the meeting, you don't have to be someone you're not. Mr. Yamamoto specifically asked to meet you because of who you are, not because of who you think you should be. What if I say something wrong? Then you'll apologize and move on. That's what I had to do and it worked out okay. At exactly 7 a.m., Nathan's computer screen flickered to life, revealing Mr. Yamamoto sitting in what appeared to be a traditional Japanese office. He was older than Nathan had expected, with gray hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He wore a simple dark suit and sat with perfect posture. Mr. Morrison, Mr. Yamamoto said with a slight bow of his head. Thank you for arranging this meeting. Thank you for giving me another chance, Mr. Yamamoto. I'd like you to meet Juliana Washington. Juliana waved awkwardly at the camera. Hello, Mr. Yamamoto. It's nice to meet you. Ms. Washington, Mr. Yamamoto said, studying her through the screen. I understand you work as a cleaner in Mr. Morrison's building. Yes, sir. I work the night shift. And yet you were able to help Mr. Morrison understand something that his business consultants could not. How did you do this? Juliana looked at Nathan, who nodded encouragingly. Well, sir, I think sometimes when you're too close to a problem you can't see it clearly. I was able to step back and see that this wasn't really about business at all. It was about two people who both care about honoring their father's legacies. Mr. Yamamoto's expression softened slightly. That is very insightful. Tell me, what do you know about my father? I know that he started your company from nothing, just like Mr. Morrison's father did. I know that you've spent your life building on what he created. And I know that you've turned down opportunities that didn't respect what he built. And what do you think about that? I think it shows that you understand the difference between success and meaning. Success is about money and power. Meaning is about creating something that matters, something that lasts beyond your own lifetime. Mr. Yamamoto nodded slowly. You speak with wisdom, Ms. Washington. Tell me, what does Mr. Morrison hope to gain from this partnership? Juliana looked at Nathan, then back at the camera. I think he hopes to prove that he's worthy of his father's legacy. But I also think he's putting too much pressure on himself to be perfect. From what I can see, he's already proven himself. He just needs to believe it. And what do you think I hope to gain? I think you hope to find a partner who understands that business is about more than just making money. Someone who will respect what you've built and help you build something even better. Mr. Yamamoto was quiet for a long moment, then smiled slightly. Ms. Washington, in 30 years of business, I have never had such an honest conversation in a first meeting. You have given me much to think about. Does that mean you're willing to consider working with us? Nathan asked. It means I am willing to start over as equals. We will build this partnership from the ground up, based on mutual respect and understanding. But I have one condition. What's that? Ms. Washington must be involved in the ongoing relationship. I want her perspective as we move forward. Nathan looked at Juliana, who looked terrified. Mr. Yamamoto, I appreciate your confidence in Ms. Washington, but she's not a business professional. Mr. Morrison, the most valuable insights often come from people who see things differently. Ms. Washington sees people, not just business opportunities. That is exactly what this partnership needs. After the call ended, Nathan and Juliana sat in stunned silence. Did that really just happen? Juliana asked. I think you just became my business partner, Nathan said with a grin. I can't be your business partner. I'm a cleaner. You're a cleaner who just saved a $500 million deal. I think that qualifies you for a promotion. The sun was rising over the city as Nathan and Juliana worked through the details of what their partnership with Yamamoto Industries would look like. Nathan had ordered breakfast from the executive dining room, and they sat at his conference table with coffee, pastries, and a stack of legal documents. I still can't believe Mr. Yamamoto wants me involved in this, Juliana said, picking at a croissant. I don't even know what a business partnership really means. It means we're going to work together to create something bigger than either of us could create alone, Nathan explained. Yamamoto Industries has manufacturing capabilities and distribution networks throughout Asia. We have technology and innovation capabilities. Together, we can create products and services that neither of us could develop independently. And where do I fit in? You're going to be our cultural liaison. You're going to help us remember that business is about people, not just profits. You're going to make sure we don't lose sight of what really matters. Juliana shook her head. Nathan, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I can't quit my other jobs to become some kind of business consultant. I have bills to pay and dreams to save for. What if I told you that this partnership could help you achieve your dreams faster than you ever imagined? What do you mean? Nathan pulled out a calculator and started writing numbers on a notepad. The initial consulting fee for this project would be $50,000. If the partnership is successful, there would be ongoing consulting fees of at least $20,000 per quarter. And if we establish additional partnerships using the same model, the fees could grow substantially. Juliana stared at the numbers. $50,000? Are you serious? Dead serious. And that's just the beginning. If you help us build a consulting practice around cultural sensitivity and human-centered business relationships, you could be making 6 figures within 2 years. 6 figures. Juliana's voice was barely a whisper. I could start my community center. You could start your community center and expand it beyond anything you've dreamed of. Juliana stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. This is crazy. Yesterday I was worried about paying my rent, and now you're talking about 6-figure consulting fees. Juliana, you have a gift. You can see through all the corporate nonsense and get to the heart of what people really need. That's incredibly valuable in business. But I don't have any formal education in business. I don't have an MBA or any certifications. You have something more valuable than formal education. You have wisdom and empathy. You understand people. Juliana turned back to Nathan. What if I mess this up? What if I say something wrong in a meeting and ruin everything? Then we'll figure out how to fix it, just like we did with Mr. Yamamoto. The difference is that now we'll be working together instead of you saving me at the last minute. Working together, Juliana repeated. I like the sound of that. Nathan's phone rang and Lynn's number appeared on the screen. Mr. Morrison, Lynn said excitedly when Nathan answered. I have wonderful news. Mr. Yamamoto has been telling his colleagues about your meeting. 3 other companies have already expressed interest in similar partnerships. 3 other companies? Yes, and they specifically asked if Ms. Washington would be involved in their negotiations as well. Word is spreading quickly about your new approach to international business. Nathan looked at Juliana, who was listening with wide eyes. Lynn, can you send me details about these other companies? I will send everything within the hour. But Mr. Morrison, I must tell you something. Mr. Yamamoto said this was the most refreshing business conversation he has had in years. He said Ms. Washington reminded him why he fell in love with business in the first place. After Lynn hung up, Nathan and Juliana stared at each other across the conference table. 3 more companies, Juliana said slowly. How is this possible? Because what you did wasn't just about saving one deal. You created a new way of doing business. You showed that authentic human connection is more powerful than any negotiation tactic. I just told the truth. Exactly. And in a world where business conversations are usually full of corporate speak and hidden agendas, truth is revolutionary. Nathan's assistant knocked on the door and entered with a tray of fresh coffee and a stack of messages. Mr. Morrison, she said, your phone has been ringing all morning. The Wall Street Journal wants to interview you about the Yamamoto deal. Harvard Business School wants to know if you'd be willing to speak at their International Business Conference. And 3 venture capital firms want to discuss funding for your new consulting approach. The Wall Street Journal? Juliana's voice cracked. They want to interview us? They want to interview the team that turned around a failed international negotiation in one night, Nathan corrected. That's both of us. I can't talk to the Wall Street Journal. I don't know anything about journalism or public relations. You don't have to know about journalism. You just have to tell your story. Juliana walked back to the window, her mind racing. Nathan, this is all happening too fast. 6 hours ago I was cleaning offices and worrying about my electric bill. Now you're talking about consulting fees and newspaper interviews and Harvard Business School. I know it's overwhelming. But Juliana, opportunities like this don't come along very often. This could change your entire life. That's what scares me. What if I'm not ready for my life to change this much? Nathan joined her at the window. Can I tell you something? I've been running this company for 2 years, and I've never felt more excited about the future than I do right now. Not because of the money or the recognition, but because I finally feel like I'm doing something meaningful. What do you mean? I mean, for the first time since my father died, I feel like I'm building something instead of just maintaining something. And that's because of you. You helped me remember that business is about people, not just profits. Juliana looked at Nathan, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. You really think I can do this? I think you can do anything you set your mind to. But more than that, I think you can help other people do things they never thought possible. Okay, Juliana said, taking a deep breath. I'm in. But I have conditions. Name them. First, I want to finish out my notice at the daycare. Those kids depend on me and I won't abandon them without proper transition time. Agreed. Second, I want part of my consulting fee to go towards starting the community center. Even if this business partnership doesn't work out long term, I want to make sure something good comes out of it for my neighborhood. Agreed. And third, I want to be involved in hiring and training other consultants. If we're going to build a business around human connection, we need people who understand what that really means. Nathan smiled. You're already thinking like a business partner. I'm thinking like someone who wants to make sure we don't lose sight of what got us here. Nathan's phone rang again. This time it was Mr. Yamamoto calling directly. Mr. Morrison, the Japanese executive said, I have been thinking about our conversation this morning. I have a proposal for you. What kind of proposal? I would like to invite you and Ms. Washington to Tokyo. I want you to meet with my leadership team and see our operations firsthand. I think it would be valuable for you to understand our culture and our way of doing business. Nathan looked at Juliana, who was shaking her head frantically. Mr. Yamamoto, that's very generous, but I'm not sure Ms. Washington has a passport. I have a passport, Juliana said quietly. I got it 2 years ago thinking I might take a vacation someday. I just never had the money to actually go anywhere. Excellent, Mr. Yamamoto said. I will arrange for you to visit next week. You will be my guests and I will show you why this partnership is so important to me. Next week? Juliana's voice was a whisper. Ms. Washington, Mr. Yamamoto said, somehow hearing her through the phone, I understand this is happening very quickly. But I believe that the best opportunities in life come to us when we are ready to embrace change. Are you ready? Juliana looked at Nathan, then at the view of the city outside the window, then at the stack of business documents on the conference table. 6 hours ago, her biggest concern was whether she had enough quarters for the laundromat. Now she was being invited to Tokyo to discuss a multi-million-dollar business partnership. Yes, she said, surprising herself with the firmness in her voice. I'm ready. The next few days passed in a blur of preparation for the Tokyo trip. Nathan had arranged for Juliana to take a temporary leave from her cleaning job, and she had worked with the daycare director to train a substitute teacher. Now she sat in Nathan's office, surrounded by guidebooks about Japan, business etiquette manuals, and a stack of new clothes that Nathan had insisted on buying for her. I feel like I'm playing dress up, Juliana said, looking at herself in the mirror wearing a tailored business suit. This isn't me. It's still you, Nathan said. You're just wearing different clothes. But what if I act differently because I'm dressed differently? What if I lose the thing that made Mr. Yamamoto want to work with me in the first place? Nathan set down the travel itinerary he was reviewing. Juliana, can I ask you something? What are you really afraid of? I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid of disappointing you and Mr. Yamamoto. I'm afraid of proving that I don't belong in this world. And what would failure look like to you? Juliana thought for a moment. Failure would be going to Tokyo and not being able to help. It would be sitting in meetings where everyone talks about things I don't understand, and not being able to contribute anything valuable. That's not going to happen. How can you be so sure? Because you're not going to Tokyo to be a business expert. You're going to be yourself. And yourself is someone who can see through complicated situations and get to the heart of what really matters. Juliana's phone rang and she saw a number she didn't recognize. Hello. Ms. Washington, this is Sarah Chen from the Wall Street Journal. I understand you're involved in the Morrison-Yamamoto partnership. I was hoping we could set up an interview. I'm sorry, but I don't think I'm the right person to talk to. You should probably speak with Mr. Morrison. Actually, I'm specifically interested in your perspective. I understand you work as a cleaner and somehow became involved in saving a major international deal. That's the kind of story our readers want to hear. Juliana looked at Nathan, who nodded encouragingly. I guess we could talk, but I'm not sure what I would say. Just tell me what happened. Start from the beginning. For the next 30 minutes, Juliana found herself recounting the events of that night. She told Sarah about receiving Lynn's desperate phone call, about finding Nathan asleep at his desk, about the conversation with Mr. Yamamoto that changed everything. Ms. Washington, Sarah said when Juliana finished, you realize you've just described something that rarely happens in corporate America. A working-class woman with no formal business training helped save a $500 million deal by encouraging a CEO to be vulnerable and honest. I just told him to be himself. That's exactly my point. In a world where business relationships are often built on posturing and power plays, you introduced authenticity. That's revolutionary. After the interview, Juliana and Nathan continued preparing for the Tokyo trip. Nathan had arranged for a translator and a cultural consultant to brief them on Japanese business customs. But Juliana found herself more interested in learning about Japanese culture in general. Did you know, she said, reading from a guidebook, that in Japanese culture the concept of face is incredibly important? It's not just about avoiding embarrassment, it's about maintaining dignity and respect in all interactions. That makes sense. It explains why Mr. Yamamoto was so offended by our original contract. And look at this, Juliana continued, they have a concept called omotenashi, which means hospitality, but it goes deeper than just being polite. It's about anticipating someone's needs and taking care of them without being asked. You already do that. What do you mean? You anticipated my need for honest feedback when I was too proud to ask for it. You took care of the situation without being asked. That's exactly what omotenashi means. That evening, Nathan invited Juliana to have dinner at his apartment so they could continue planning for the trip. His penthouse overlooked the city, and Juliana found herself amazed by the view. This is incredible, she said, looking out at the lights below. You can see the whole city from here. Sometimes I stand here and think about all the people down there, all the dreams and struggles and hopes. It makes me feel connected to something bigger than myself. Is that why you wanted to save the company? To feel connected to something bigger? Nathan poured 2 glasses of wine and joined her at the window. Partly. But I think it's also because I wanted to prove that I could build something meaningful, not just inherit something valuable. You know what I think? I think you've already proven that. The fact that you were willing to humble yourself and call Mr. Yamamoto shows that you're not just trying to protect your inheritance. You're trying to create something new. They sat down for dinner, and Nathan found himself sharing more about his childhood, his relationship with his father, and his fears about living up to the Morrison name. My father was larger than life, he said. Everyone loved him. He could walk into a room and make everyone feel like they were the most important person there. I've always felt like I was living in his shadow. Maybe that's because you're trying to be him instead of being yourself. What do you mean? I mean, your father was who he was because of his experiences, his personality, his time in history. You're who you are because of your experiences, your personality, your time in history. Instead of trying to be him, maybe you should focus on being the best version of yourself. And what does the best version of myself look like? Juliana smiled. I think it looks like someone who stays up all night to save a business deal, not because he has to, but because he cares about the people involved. Someone who's willing to learn from a cleaning lady because he knows that good ideas can come from anywhere. Is that really how you see me? That's how I've always seen you. From the moment I found you asleep at your desk, I could tell that you were someone who cared more about doing the right thing than about being right. Nathan looked at Juliana across the dinner table, seeing her in the soft light of the candles he had lit. She was beautiful, but it wasn't just her physical appearance that drew him to her. It was her authenticity, her kindness, her ability to see the best in people and situations. Juliana, he said quietly, I need to tell you something. What? This partnership, this trip to Tokyo, all of it has been amazing. But the best part has been getting to know you. You've changed how I see business, how I see myself, how I see what's possible. Nathan, I know this is complicated. I know we come from different worlds. But I can't ignore what I'm feeling. Juliana set down her wine glass. What are you feeling? I'm feeling like I've found someone who sees me for who I really am, not for what I represent or what I can provide. I'm feeling like I've found a partner in every sense of the word. A partner? Someone I want to build a life with, not just a business with. Juliana was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the city lights. Nathan, I care about you too. More than I expected to. But I'm scared. Scared of what? Scared that this is all moving too fast. Scared that once the excitement of the business deal wears off, we'll realize we don't have as much in common as we think we do. And what if we realize we have more in common than we think we do? Then I guess we'll figure it out as we go. Nathan reached across the table and took her hand. Is that a yes to figuring it out together? That's a yes to seeing where this goes. But Nathan, I need you to understand something. I'm not going to change who I am to fit into your world. I'm not going to pretend to be someone I'm not. I would never want you to change. The person you are is exactly the person I'm falling in love with. Falling in love? Juliana's voice was soft. Yes. I think I've been falling in love with you since the moment you knocked on my office door and asked if I was okay. Juliana squeezed his hand. Then I guess we're both falling. The morning of their departure to Tokyo, Nathan and Juliana arrived at the office early to handle some last-minute business. Lynn had scheduled a preliminary video conference with Mr. Yamamoto's leadership team, and Nathan wanted to make sure everything was perfect. Are you nervous? Nathan asked as they set up the video equipment in the conference room. Terrified, Juliana admitted. What if they don't like me? What if they think Mr. Yamamoto made a mistake including me in this partnership? They're going to love you. Just be yourself. That's what you keep saying, but being myself got me into this situation. I'm not sure being myself is going to get me out of it. Nathan laughed. Juliana, being yourself is exactly what's going to make this partnership successful. You can't start doubting that now. The video call was scheduled for 9 a.m., which was 11 p.m. in Tokyo. Lynn had explained that Mr. Yamamoto's team was used to late-night calls with American partners, so the timing wouldn't be unusual. At exactly 9 a.m., the screen flickered to life, revealing Mr. Yamamoto sitting at a large conference table with 4 other executives. Nathan recognized the setting as a traditional Japanese boardroom, with clean lines and minimal decoration. Mr. Morrison, Ms. Washington, Mr. Yamamoto said with a slight bow. Thank you for joining us this morning. I would like you to meet my leadership team. He introduced each person individually. His vice president of operations, his head of international business, his chief financial officer, and his director of strategic partnerships. Each person bowed slightly when introduced, and Nathan and Juliana did their best to return the gesture. We are very excited about the potential partnership with Morrison Tech, said the vice president of operations in excellent English. However, we have some questions about how this relationship will work in practice. Of course, Nathan said. We're here to address any concerns you might have. Our first question is about cultural integration. How will you ensure that your American business practices will be compatible with our Japanese approach? Nathan looked at Juliana, who took a deep breath before speaking. If I may, she said, I think the key is not to try to make our practices compatible, but to create new practices that honor both cultures. Can you elaborate on that? Asked the head of international business. Well, from what I understand about Japanese business culture, there's a strong emphasis on relationships, respect, and long-term thinking. In American business culture, there's often more focus on efficiency, innovation, and quick results. Instead of trying to choose one approach over the other, maybe we can find ways to combine the best of both. That is an interesting perspective, said the CFO. Can you give us a specific example? Juliana glanced at Nathan, who nodded encouragingly. For example, in American business, we often jump straight into negotiations and deal-making. But I've learned that in Japanese culture, it's important to build relationships first. So maybe we could structure our partnership meetings to include time for relationship building alongside the business discussions. You mean like starting each meeting with personal check-ins? Asked the Director of Strategic Partnerships. Exactly. Taking time to ask about each other's families, to share what's happening in our lives, to understand each other as people before we try to solve problems as businesses. Mr. Yamamoto smiled. Ms. Washington, you understand something that many international business consultants do not. Business is not separate from life. It is part of life. That's exactly right, Juliana said, gaining confidence. When we try to separate business relationships from human relationships, we lose the foundation that makes partnerships really work. The conversation continued for another 30 minutes, with Mr. Yamamoto's team asking detailed questions about implementation, timeline, and success metrics. Nathan handled most of the technical business questions, while Juliana provided insights about cultural sensitivity and relationship building. We have one final question, Mr. Yamamoto said as the call was winding down. Ms. Washington, you are not a traditional business consultant. What makes you confident that you can contribute to this partnership? Juliana was quiet for a moment, then spoke from her heart. Mr. Yamamoto, I'm not confident that I can contribute to this partnership. I'm confident that I can learn from this partnership. I'm confident that I can bring a different perspective and ask different questions. And I'm confident that I care enough about the success of this relationship to work as hard as necessary to make it succeed. And if you make mistakes? Then I'll apologize, learn from them, and do better next time. Just like anyone else would. Mr. Yamamoto nodded approvingly. That is the attitude we value most in our partners. Not perfection, but commitment to continuous improvement. After the call ended, Nathan and Juliana sat in the conference room feeling a mixture of relief and excitement. I think that went well, Nathan said. Really? I felt like I was making it up as I went along. You were. That's what made it so effective. You were being authentic instead of giving rehearsed answers. I still can't believe they're taking me seriously. Juliana, you need to start taking yourself seriously. You just held your own in a high-level international business discussion. You provided insights that no one else in that room could have provided. I guess I did, didn't I? You absolutely did. And tomorrow, you're going to do it again in Tokyo. That afternoon, as they prepared to leave for the airport, Nathan's assistant brought him a stack of messages and emails that had accumulated during the video call. Mr. Morrison, she said, you have 3 more interview requests, 2 speaking invitations, and 5 companies asking about consulting services. Also, Harvard Business School called again about having you and Ms. Washington speak at their International Business Conference. Harvard Business School wants both of us? Juliana asked. They specifically requested both of you. They said they've never heard of a partnership like yours, and they want their students to learn from your approach. Nathan, I can't speak at Harvard Business School. Those are some of the smartest business students in the world. And you're going to teach them something they can't learn from textbooks. What's that? That business is about people. That the best deals are built on trust and respect. That sometimes the most valuable insights come from unexpected places. As they headed to the airport, Juliana looked out the window at the city she'd lived in her whole life. Tomorrow she would be on the other side of the world, discussing business partnerships with executives who ran billion-dollar companies. 6 months ago she was worried about making rent. Now she was about to embark on an adventure that could change her life forever. Nathan, she said as their car pulled up to the airport, whatever happens in Tokyo, I want you to know that this has already been the most amazing experience of my life. Whatever happens in Tokyo, Nathan replied, I want you to know that meeting you has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. Even better than saving the company? Especially better than saving the company. Companies can be rebuilt. But finding someone who sees you for who you really are? That's once in a lifetime. As they walked through the airport together, Juliana felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement that she'd never experienced before. She was about to step into a world she'd never imagined she could be part of. But she wasn't stepping into it alone. She was stepping into it with someone who believed in her, someone who saw her potential even when she couldn't see it herself. "Are you ready for this?" Nathan asked as they approached their gate. "No," Juliana said with a smile. "But I'm ready to try." The flight to Tokyo was Juliana's first time on an international flight, and she spent most of the 13 hours alternating between amazement at the experience and anxiety about the meetings ahead. Nathan had booked first-class seats, and Juliana felt overwhelmed by the luxury of it all. "I still can't believe this is real," she said, looking out the window at the Pacific Ocean below. "It's real," Nathan said, reviewing his presentation notes. "And in 6 hours, we'll be in Tokyo preparing for the most important meetings of our lives. No pressure or anything. Juliana, you're going to be fine. Just remember what got us this far. Your honesty, your ability to see people as people, your gift for cutting through complications to find the truth." They landed at Narita Airport at 3 p.m. local time, and Lynn was waiting for them at customs. She was a petite woman in her 30s with a warm smile and perfect English. "Mr. Morrison, Ms. Washington," she said, bowing slightly. "Welcome to Japan. I hope your flight was comfortable." "Thank you for arranging everything, Lynn," Nathan said. "We're excited to be here." "And nervous," Juliana added with a laugh. "That is completely normal," Lynn said as she led them to a waiting car. "Mr. Yamamoto is also nervous. This is the first time he has entered into a partnership based primarily on personal connection rather than just business metrics." "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" Juliana asked. "It is a brave thing," Lynn replied. "And in my experience, brave things often lead to the best outcomes." The drive from the airport to their hotel took them through downtown Tokyo, and Juliana was amazed by the combination of ultra-modern skyscrapers and traditional architecture. Neon signs and Japanese characters created a kaleidoscope of colors, and the streets were filled with people even in the middle of the afternoon. "It's incredible," Juliana said, pressing her face to the window. "I've never seen anything like this." "Mr. Yamamoto is looking forward to showing you some of his favorite places in the city," Lynn said. "He believes that understanding a place helps you understand its people." They checked into their hotel, a luxury property in the heart of the business district. Nathan and Juliana had adjoining rooms on the 20th floor, with views of Tokyo Bay in the distance. "Get some rest," Nathan said as they parted ways in the hallway. "Tomorrow is going to be a big day." "Nathan," Juliana said, stopping him before he went into his room. "Are you sure about this? Are you sure I belong here? I've never been more sure of anything in my life." The next morning, they met Lynn in the hotel lobby for breakfast before heading to Yamamoto Industries headquarters. The building was a gleaming 30-story tower with the company logo prominently displayed in both Japanese and English. "Mr. Yamamoto will meet with you first," Lynn explained as they rode the elevator to the executive floor. "Then you will present to the full leadership team, and finally you will tour the facilities." "What if the presentation doesn't go well?" Juliana asked. "Then we adapt and try a different approach," Nathan said. "That's what partnerships are about." Mr. Yamamoto's office was spacious but understated, with traditional Japanese artwork on the walls and a view of the city below. He greeted them warmly, offering tea and asking about their flight. "Ms. Washington," he said, "how do you find Tokyo so far?" "It's overwhelming in the best possible way," Juliana said honestly. "Everything is so different from what I'm used to, but also beautiful and exciting. That is exactly how I felt when I first visited New York 20 years ago. Different can be frightening, but it can also be inspiring." They spent 30 minutes discussing the partnership in general terms, with Mr. Yamamoto asking thoughtful questions about their vision for working together. Nathan presented the business framework they had developed, while Juliana talked about the cultural integration aspects. "I am impressed with your preparation," Mr. Yamamoto said. "You have clearly put much thought into this partnership. Now, shall we meet with my team?" The presentation was scheduled to take place in Yamamoto Industries' main conference room, a sleek space with a large table and state-of-the-art video conferencing equipment. Mr. Yamamoto's 5 senior executives were already seated when they arrived, along with 2 additional people Lynn introduced as consultants. "Before we begin," Mr. Yamamoto said, "I want to explain something to my team. This partnership is different from others we have considered because it is built on personal relationships rather than just business logic. Ms. Washington, in particular, brings a perspective that we have not encountered before. Nathan began the formal presentation, outlining the technical aspects of their proposed collaboration. He discussed market opportunities, financial projections, and implementation timelines. His presentation was polished and professional, and the Japanese executives asked detailed questions about logistics and risk management. Then it was Juliana's turn to talk about the human elements of the partnership. Mr. Yamamoto and his team, she began, I want to start by acknowledging that I'm not a traditional business consultant. I don't have an MBA or years of corporate experience. What I do have is a different way of looking at relationships. She was 5 minutes into her presentation when the video conferencing equipment suddenly went dead. The screens went black, the audio cut out, and the room was plunged into an awkward silence. I'm sorry, Lynn said, frantically pressing buttons on the control panel. We were supposed to have 3 other companies joining us virtually for this presentation. Let me see if I can fix this. Nathan and Juliana exchanged worried glances. This was supposed to be their big moment to demonstrate their new approach to international partnerships, and the technology was failing at the worst possible time. Perhaps we should reschedule, suggested the CFO. If the other companies cannot participate, it might be better to wait. Actually, Juliana said, surprising everyone, maybe this is an opportunity. What do you mean? Mr. Yamamoto asked. I mean, maybe instead of trying to give a perfect presentation to people who are watching us through screens, we could have a real conversation with the people who are actually in this room. The Japanese executives looked confused, but Mr. Yamamoto nodded slowly. Continue, Ms. Washington. Well, I was about to talk about the importance of personal connections and business relationships. But instead of talking about it, maybe we could actually experience it. Instead of presentations and slides, maybe we could just get to know each other as people. You want to abandon the formal presentation? Asked the head of international business. I want to try something different. Mr. Yamamoto, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. What made you want to go into business in the first place? Not what made you take over your father's company, but what made you excited about business as a young man? Mr. Yamamoto was quiet for a moment, then smiled. When I was a child, my father would take me to work with him sometimes. I remember watching him solve problems for his customers, seeing how happy they were when he found solutions they hadn't thought of. I wanted to be part of that process of helping people get what they needed. And do you still feel that way? Sometimes. But in recent years, business has become more about numbers and metrics than about helping people. That is why your approach interested me so much. Juliana turned to the other executives. What about the rest of you? What drew you to this company? One by one, each executive shared their story. The CFO talked about wanting to build something that would last beyond his lifetime. The head of operations described his passion for creating efficient systems that made people's lives easier. The director of strategic partnerships shared her belief that businesses could be forces for positive change in the world. You know what I hear in all of your stories? Juliana said when everyone had spoken. I hear people who care about more than just making money. I hear people who want to create value for others. That is true, Mr. Yamamoto said. But Ms. Washington, how does this translate into a successful business partnership? Because when people are motivated by the same values, they find ways to solve problems together. When people trust each other and share the same goals, they don't need perfect contracts or detailed procedures. They just need to commit to working things out. Nathan, who had been watching this conversation unfold with amazement, spoke up. What Juliana is describing is exactly what happened when we first met. We didn't have a formal business relationship or a detailed plan. We just had a shared commitment to solving a problem and helping people. And look where that led us, Juliana added. We're sitting in Tokyo, discussing a partnership that could benefit millions of customers in both of our countries. Lynn, who had been quietly working on the video equipment, suddenly spoke up. Mr. Yamamoto, I have the other companies back online. Should I connect them to the meeting? Mr. Yamamoto looked around the table at his executives, then at Nathan and Juliana. No, he said finally. I think we are having a much more valuable conversation without them. But sir, the CFO said, those companies represent significant partnership opportunities. They represent traditional partnership opportunities, Mr. Yamamoto corrected. What we are discussing here is something entirely different. Something that could change how we think about business relationships altogether. He stood up and walked to the window looking out at the city below. For 30 years, I have been in meetings where people present slides and discuss metrics and negotiate terms. Those meetings produce adequate results. But this conversation, this approach that Ms. Washington is describing, This could produce extraordinary results. What are you saying? Asked the head of international business. I am saying that we are going to proceed with this partnership exactly as Ms. Washington suggests. Not because it follows best practices or because it minimizes risk, but because it feels right. Because it honors what we all said we wanted to achieve when we first got into business. The room was quiet for a moment, then the director of strategic partnerships started laughing. You know what? He's right. I haven't been this excited about a business opportunity in years. But what about the other companies? The CFO asked. We will work with them using traditional approaches, Mr. Yamamoto said. But with Morrison Tech we will try something new. We will build a partnership based on trust, shared values, and genuine friendship. Nathan felt a wave of relief and excitement wash over him. Mr. Yamamoto, I can't tell you how grateful we are for your faith in us. The gratitude should be mutual, Mr. Morrison. You and Ms. Washington have reminded me why I fell in love with business in the first place. As the meeting concluded, Lynn approached Juliana quietly. Ms. Washington, what you did in there was remarkable. You turned a technology failure into an opportunity for deeper connection. I just tried to make the best of a bad situation. No, you did more than that. You showed everyone in that room that authentic relationships are more powerful than perfect presentations. That is a lesson that will change how they approach all of their business relationships going forward. As they left the Yamamoto Industries building, Nathan and Juliana walked through the bustling streets of Tokyo, both of them still processing what had just happened. I can't believe you abandoned our entire presentation, Nathan said with a grin. I can't believe it worked, Juliana replied. It worked because it was authentic. Because it was you being yourself in a situation where most people would have panicked. I did panic. I just tried not to let it show. That's what courage looks like, Juliana. Not the absence of fear, but action in spite of fear. They stopped at a small restaurant for lunch, and Nathan found himself watching Juliana as she tried to navigate chopsticks for the first time. She was laughing at her own clumsiness, asking the waitress for help, and generally approaching this new experience with the same openness and authenticity that had won over Mr. Yamamoto's team. Juliana, he said quietly, I think I'm falling in love with you. She looked up from her struggle with the chopsticks, her eyes wide. You think? No, I know. I'm definitely falling in love with you. Even though I almost ruined our presentation? Especially because you almost ruined our presentation and then turned it into something better than we ever could have planned. Juliana reached across the table and took his hand. Nathan, I'm falling in love with you too. And that scares me almost as much as speaking at Harvard Business School. Why does it scare you? Because I never expected to find someone who sees the world the way I do. Someone who values the same things I value. Someone who makes me feel like I can be myself, and that's enough. More than enough, Nathan said, squeezing her hand. You're everything. The next morning, Nathan and Juliana were scheduled to tour Yamamoto Industries' main manufacturing facility outside Tokyo. Mr. Yamamoto had arranged for them to see the entire operation, from product design to final assembly, as a way of understanding how their companies might work together operationally. I'm excited to see how they actually make things, Juliana said as they rode the train through the Japanese countryside. I've spent so much time in office buildings that I sometimes forget there are actual products behind all these business discussions. That's a good point, Nathan said. Sometimes we get so focused on the financial side of partnerships that we forget about the practical side. The manufacturing facility was impressive, a sprawling complex of interconnected buildings surrounded by carefully maintained gardens. Mr. Yamamoto met them at the entrance, dressed more casually than he had been in the office. Welcome to where the real work happens, he said with a smile. This facility employs 800 people and produces components for electronics companies around the world. As they toured the facility, Juliana found herself fascinated by the attention to detail and the obvious pride the workers took in their craftsmanship. She stopped frequently to ask questions about the manufacturing process, and the workers seemed pleased to explain their work to her. Ms. Washington, Mr. Yamamoto said as they watched a team assembling circuit boards, you ask very different questions than most business visitors. What do you mean? Most visitors ask about production capacity and efficiency metrics. You ask about how long workers have been here and whether they enjoy their jobs. Well, I figure if the people doing the work are happy and proud of what they're doing, the products are probably going to be better. That is exactly right. Happy workers produce higher quality products. But many business leaders do not understand this connection. They were halfway through the tour when Lynn appeared, looking concerned. She spoke to Mr. Yamamoto in rapid Japanese, and his expression became serious. I apologize, he said to Nathan and Juliana, but we have an urgent situation that requires my immediate attention. One of our major clients is threatening to cancel a large order due to a quality issue. What kind of quality issue? Nathan asked. They claim that our latest shipment of components does not meet their specifications. If they cancel this order, it will affect production schedules for the next 6 months. Is there anything we can do to help? Juliana asked. Mr. Yamamoto looked surprised. Ms. Washington, this is not your problem to solve. Maybe not, but we're supposed to be partners. Partners help each other, right? Nathan nodded. What exactly is the client claiming is wrong with the components? They say the components are not performing according to the agreed specifications. But our quality control tests show that everything is within acceptable parameters. There seems to be a disconnect somewhere. Have you talked to them directly about what they're experiencing? Juliana asked. Our technical team has been exchanging emails with their technical team, but the communication has not been productive. Maybe that's the problem, Juliana said. Sometimes when people are frustrated and worried, email just makes things worse. Maybe someone needs to have a real conversation with them. Mr. Yamamoto considered this. The client is in Germany. It would be difficult to arrange a face-to-face meeting on short notice. What about a video call? Nathan suggested. Not a formal presentation, but a real conversation where everyone can ask questions and work through the problem together. That is possible, but our technical team has already tried video calls. The German team remains unconvinced. Maybe the problem isn't technical, Juliana said. Maybe it's about trust and communication. What do you mean? I mean, maybe the German team doesn't feel like they're being heard or understood. Maybe they need to feel like you're taking their concerns seriously, even if the technical data suggests everything is fine. Mr. Yamamoto was quiet for a moment, then nodded slowly. Ms. Washington, would you be willing to participate in a call with this client? Your perspective on communication might be valuable. Me? I don't know anything about electronics manufacturing. You know about people. And sometimes people problems are more complicated than technical problems. An hour later, they were back in Mr. Yamamoto's office, setting up for a video call with the German client. The client was a mid-sized electronics company that used Yamamoto's components in their products. The CEO and Chief Technical Officer were both on the call, along with their head of quality control. Mr. Yamamoto, the German CEO said, his frustration evident even through the video connection. We have been trying to resolve this issue for 2 weeks. Your components are not performing as specified, and this is affecting our production schedule. I understand your frustration, Mr. Yamamoto said. Our quality control data shows that the components meet all specifications, but clearly there is a problem. Can you help us understand exactly what you are experiencing? The components fail our stress tests at much lower levels than your specifications indicate they should handle. Nathan spoke up. Are you using the same testing methodology that we agreed upon in the original contract? Of course we are, the German CTO said defensively. We are not amateurs. Juliana noticed the tension in the German team's voices and decided to try a different approach. Excuse me, she said, I'm not a technical expert, but can I ask a question? When you say the components are failing stress tests, what exactly happens? What does failure look like? The German quality control manager answered. The components begin to show performance degradation after approximately 60% of the specified stress level. And what happens if you continue testing beyond that point? We do not continue testing because we consider 60% degradation to be failure. Mr. Yamamoto's technical team exchanged glances. Sir, one of them said quietly in Japanese, then switched to English. I think we may have found the problem. In our testing methodology, we consider anything above 50% to be acceptable performance. But they are looking for 90% performance. So you're both right, Juliana said. Your components are meeting your specifications, and their components are failing their requirements. Exactly, Nathan said, understanding the issue now. This isn't a quality problem, it's a specification mismatch. The German CEO looked confused. But the contract clearly states the performance requirements. Yes, Mr. Yamamoto said, but it appears we interpreted those requirements differently than you did. So how do we fix this? The German CTO asked. We could modify our manufacturing process to meet your higher performance requirements, Mr. Yamamoto said. But that would increase costs and delivery time. Or, Juliana suggested, you could look at whether your performance requirements are actually necessary for your application. Maybe you need 60% performance, not 90%. That is an interesting point, the German quality control manager said. Our requirements were based on worst-case scenarios that may not reflect actual usage conditions. What if we ran some tests together? Nathan suggested. Your team and our team could work together to determine what performance level is actually needed for your specific application. That sounds reasonable, the German CEO said, his tone much more positive than it had been at the beginning of the call. How quickly could we arrange such testing? We could have a team in Germany within a week, Mr. Yamamoto said. And we could send some of our technical people to Japan to observe your manufacturing process, the German CTO added. After the call ended, Mr. Yamamoto looked at Nathan and Juliana with amazement. In 30 minutes, you solved a problem that my technical team has been working on for 2 weeks. We didn't solve the technical problem, Nathan said. We solved the communication problem. Exactly, Juliana added. The technical problem will still need to be worked out by the engineers. But now they're working together instead of against each other. Ms. Washington, Mr. Yamamoto said, you have just demonstrated the value of your approach to business relationships. You helped turn adversaries into collaborators. I just asked questions and listened to the answers. Sometimes that's all it takes. That evening, Mr. Yamamoto invited Nathan and Juliana to dinner at his home, a traditional Japanese house in a quiet neighborhood outside the city. His wife and teenage daughter joined them for the meal, and Juliana found herself charmed by the family's warmth and hospitality. Papa tells us you saved his biggest partnership, Mr. Yamamoto's daughter said in perfect English. I think your father and Mr. Morrison did most of the saving, Juliana replied. I just asked some questions. Sometimes questions are more powerful than answers, Mr. Yamamoto's wife said with a smile. After dinner, Mr. Yamamoto walked Nathan and Juliana through his garden, pointing out various plants and explaining their significance in Japanese culture. Mr. Morrison, Ms. Washington, he said as they paused beside a small pond, I have a proposal for you. What kind of proposal? Nathan asked. I would like to expand our partnership beyond just our 2 companies. I would like to create a new kind of consulting service that helps other international partnerships succeed by focusing on human relationships rather than just business metrics. You mean like a formal consulting business? Juliana asked. Exactly. You have proven that your approach can solve problems that traditional business methods cannot. I believe there are many companies that could benefit from this approach. Nathan and Juliana exchanged glances. What would that look like practically? Nathan asked. We would establish offices in both countries, with teams that specialize in cultural bridge building and relationship-based problem solving. You two would lead the American operations while I would lead the Japanese operations. And the companies we've already been talking to? Juliana asked. They would be our first clients. But I believe that once word spreads about our approach, we will have more clients than we can handle. Mr. Yamamoto, Nathan said slowly, are you suggesting that we turn what started as a desperate phone call in the middle of the night into an entirely new industry? That is exactly what I am suggesting. Ms. Washington, you have created something revolutionary. The question is whether you are ready to revolutionize how international business is conducted. Juliana looked at the peaceful garden around them, then at Nathan, then at Mr. Yamamoto. 6 months ago, she was cleaning offices and dreaming of starting a small community center. Now she was being invited to start a consulting business that could change how companies around the world work together. Mr. Yamamoto, she said quietly, I think we're ready. 6 months later, Juliana stood in the lobby of Morrison Yamamoto Consulting, looking at the bronze plaque that bore both companies' names. The office occupied 2 floors of a downtown building, with conference rooms designed to encourage the kind of open, honest conversations that had started their partnership. Hard to believe this all started with a wrong number, Nathan said, joining her in the lobby. Not a wrong number, Juliana corrected with a smile. The right number at exactly the right time. Their consulting business had grown beyond anything they had imagined. They now had clients in 12 countries, a staff of 30 people, and a waiting list of companies that wanted to learn their approach to relationship-based business partnerships. Are you ready for the Harvard presentation? Nathan asked. As ready as I'll ever be. Though I still can't believe they want us to speak to their MBA students. You're going to be amazing. You always are. That afternoon, they took the train to Boston for their speaking engagement at Harvard Business School. The auditorium was packed with students, professors, and business leaders who had heard about their unconventional approach to international partnerships. Good evening, Nathan began. 6 months ago, my partner Juliana was working as a night shift cleaner in my office building. Today, she's the co-founder of one of the fastest-growing consulting businesses in the country. But more importantly, she's the person who taught me that business success isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions. Juliana took the podium next. When I first met Nathan, he was the CEO of a successful company, and I was someone who cleaned his office after he went home. On paper, we had nothing in common. But it turned out we both cared about the same thing: treating people with respect and building genuine relationships. They spent the next hour describing their journey, from that first desperate phone call from Lynn to their current work helping companies around the world build better partnerships. The audience was engaged and asked thoughtful questions about how their approach could be applied in different industries and cultures. Ms. Washington, one student asked, "What advice would you give to someone who wants to make a career change but feels like they don't have the right credentials?" "I tell them that credentials are less important than caring," Juliana replied. "If you genuinely care about solving problems and helping people, you'll find ways to contribute that no one else can. Your different background might be exactly what's needed." After the presentation, they were approached by a young woman who introduced herself as a first-year MBA student. "Ms. Washington," she said, "I wanted to thank you for your presentation. I'm the first person in my family to go to business school, and sometimes I feel like I don't belong here. Your story gives me hope that my different perspective might actually be an advantage." "It absolutely is," Juliana said warmly. "The business world needs people who can see things differently. Don't try to fit in. Try to stand out." On the train back to New York, Nathan and Juliana reflected on how much their lives had changed. "Do you ever miss the simplicity of your old life?" Nathan asked. "Sometimes," Juliana admitted. "There was something peaceful about cleaning offices at night, listening to music, thinking about my dreams. But I don't miss feeling like my dreams were impossible. And now I dream bigger dreams. I'm not just thinking about opening one community center anymore. I'm thinking about teaching other people how to start their own community centers, how to build businesses that care about more than just profit." "Speaking of which," Nathan said, pulling an envelope from his briefcase, "I have something for you." Juliana opened the envelope and found a check for more money than she had ever seen at one time. "Nathan, what is this?" "Your share of the consulting fees from this quarter. Plus a bonus for the 3 new clients you brought in last month. This is enough to buy the building for my community center." "I know. I also know that you've been looking at that old warehouse in your neighborhood. The one that would be perfect for a youth center and job training facility." Juliana stared at the check, tears forming in her eyes. "Nathan, I can't accept this much money. It's not a gift, Juliana. It's what you've earned. You've changed how I think about business, how I think about success, how I think about what matters in life. You've changed my life too. You gave me a chance when no one else would have. I didn't give you a chance. You earned it. You proved that you belong in any room you choose to enter." Nathan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small jewelry box. "Juliana, there's something else I want to give you." "Nathan, I know this is crazy. I know we come from different worlds and our relationship has happened fast. But I also know that you're the best thing that's ever happened to me." He opened the box to reveal a simple but elegant engagement ring. "I'm not asking you to marry me right now. I'm asking if you'll consider building a life with me. Not just a business, but a real partnership in everything." Juliana looked at the ring, then at Nathan, then out the window at the landscape passing by. "Nathan, are you sure about this? Are you sure you're ready to be with someone who will always ask uncomfortable questions and challenge the way things are supposed to be done?" "I'm counting on it. Juliana, you make me want to be better than I am. You make me want to build something meaningful instead of just something profitable. And you make me believe that I can achieve things I never thought possible," Juliana said, taking his hand. "Yes, Nathan. I want to build a life with you." As Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger, Juliana thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. It had started with a wrong number, continued with a leap of faith, and led to a love that was built on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine partnership. "You know what the best part is?" she said as they pulled into Penn Station. "What?" "We get to keep doing this together. Building businesses, helping people, changing how the world thinks about relationships and success. And raising a family," Nathan added quietly. "A family? Someday. If you want to. Kids who grow up knowing that success isn't about what you have, it's about what you give." Juliana smiled, looking at her engagement ring sparkling in the train's fluorescent lights. "I love you, Nathan Morrison. I love you too, Juliana Washington. Soon to be Juliana Morrison if you'll have me. I'll have you. And I'll keep challenging you to be better. I'm counting on it." As they walked through the bustling station together, hand in hand, Juliana reflected on how much her life had changed since that night 6 months ago when she answered a phone call that wasn't meant for her. She had gone from cleaning other people's offices to building her own business, from struggling to pay rent to planning her own community center, from wondering if she'd ever find love to being engaged to a man who saw her as an equal partner in every way. But most importantly, she had learned that success wasn't about changing who you are to fit into someone else's world. It was about being authentically yourself and finding people who valued that authenticity. It was about building relationships based on trust, respect, and genuine care for each other's dreams. The wrong number had turned out to be exactly the right call at exactly the right time. And it had led to a love story that was about much more than romance. It was about two people who had found in each other the perfect partner for building a life and a business that mattered. As they hailed a taxi to take them home to their shared apartment overlooking the city where their story had begun, Nathan squeezed Juliana's hand. "Ready for the next adventure?" he asked. "With you? I'm ready for anything." Thank you for joining Juliana and Nathan on their incredible journey. Their story shows us that sometimes the most unexpected moments can lead to the most beautiful changes in our lives. What started as a simple case of mistaken identity became a love story about partnership, growth, and believing in yourself. I'd love to hear from you. What moment in the story resonated with you most? Have you ever had an unexpected opportunity change your life? What did you think about Juliana's transformation from cleaner to business consultant? Which character's journey did you connect with more, Nathan learning to be vulnerable, or Juliana learning to believe in herself? Drop a comment below and let me know. Your thoughts and experiences make these stories even more meaningful.